Hello, everyone. Welcome to Patriots III, Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness. And here's your hosts, Tim and John Valle. John, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to like, share, and follow on Tim Holliday TV. That's TIMHOLLIDAY TV. We are on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. And later on, I put on the audio to iHeartRadio, Spotify, and what's the other one? Apple Podcasts. Oh, and I forgot. I'm trying to pull in some youth on Twitch TV. That's a video gamer platform. So if you know anybody playing video games, pull them in on the Tim Holliday TV. Have them join in. And definitely want to say, and John here is my witness, my co-host here tonight. These podcasts are a little tricky to put together. So if I happen to miss some comments, my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the easiest on my end because I'm doing all this pretty well on my own. John shared some great content which we're going to be covering tonight, and we're going to be covering on what is going on in Iran and some ways to better be prepared. So we'll be covering the ways to be prepared. I mean, that can be many different things. I mean, we're so dependent on electricity and oil, so to speak of, and we'll be covering some of that with the oil portion of it, but during the talk about Iran and what's going on there. But we'll definitely be going over more on ways to be prepared. I remember it was less than a year ago, I did a whole show without any electricity for 3+ days. The power came on for like the last 10 minutes of the show. So I was like just barely on backup battery power. So John, what's going on with Iran?
Right. So let's jump into it. We're going to talk about Iran and how that affects us here and how we could better be prepared and hammer home some suggestions. So basically what we know is obviously the action in Iran is not over yet. So what we got right now, the latest is we are continuing to build up forces in the Mideast. And I think you have a couple graphics there.
Yeah.
But we are sending more planes there. So we got 15 B-1B bombers. We got 3 more B-52 bombers. This morning, if you didn't see the news, more long-range bombers were leaving RAF Fairford, which is one of the bases in England, Royal Air Force, Fairford, this morning headed to Iran. And we've heard Trump and them say, hey, the heavy bombing is yet to come. So if you listen to Scott Bessent, what he was saying when he's been interviewed, and if you heard Pete Hegseth on 60 Minutes with Major Garrett, he was saying, hey, the heavy stuff's here to come. That's what they're doing. Yeah. So right now, what is going on? What are we doing? Right, and I think you have another map. So we have a map here of the U.S. and Israeli strikes in Iran, and that's the current map and what's going on. So right now we've struck 1,460 targets since February 28th. 23% of those are around Tehran, and 38% of those are around the Iraqi-Iran border. Now, people are saying, why the border with Iraq? So if you guys were listening all week, what they were talking about and the Kurds and the Kurdish forces. So what they're doing is they're softening up the IRGC targets, the besieged targets, police stations around there, anything with authority around that border. And they're getting the Kurds to go in there and to basically divert attention from all the forces, on the coast and in Tehran and along the Strait of Hormuz, and sending them up there, diverting forces up there to basically deal with the Kurds. Now, the Kurds, interesting fact about that, the Kurds are the only country, or the Kurds are the only people that were promised a country. I think it was back in the 50s, 50s or 60s. They were promised a country and never got a country. Wow. So that's why you see the Kurds in Iraq, you see them in Syria, you see them near Iran, you see them near Turkey. Turkey, more famously, has always had these things with the Kurdish fighters. For any of you guys that are veterans, like a lot of my guys, you guys know that when you're in Afghanistan and Iraq, the Kurds were our allies. They were our friends, you know. So you have, you know, they want to create this country called Kurdistan, basically. And so that's pretty much what we're doing. We're using them as proxies to go and draw the forces up to that border, away from Tehran and away from Meshdad and all these other places, and fight there. There are pictures of, on social media, there are pictures and video that are coming out just right now. Before we went on live air, I saw this, where IRGC members, regular Iranian army members, are saying, hey, we're done. Our commanders are leaving. They're left us here to fight nowhere. We're going to go. So all this bluster that they're doing, whether it's the president of Iran or the head of whatever, the IRGC saying, oh, we'll fight you for 10 years. And, you know, they always have this apocalyptic view. And, it's too much to get into with the Shiite theology and what they believe in and what they're doing. But if you know about that, you know what I'm talking about, the whole apocalyptic view, you know. Yeah. But anyway, the Kurds are our friends. An interesting fact that I also found out is the biggest population of Kurds outside of the Middle East is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just found that out, and I happened to be driving into work where I'm at right now, and I was listening to Clay and Buck, and Clay was like, man, I went to high school with all these Kurds. They actually have a place in Nashville called Little Kurdistan, and that's the highest concentration of Kurds outside the Middle East. Wow. Which is pretty funny, because being from Southern California, the highest population of Persians, Persians, is in Orange County, California.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting fact. But anyways, so that's what we're doing here. 38% around the Iraq border with Iran to get those Kurds in, to get these other people in there to fight, you know. Long-range bombers are leaving RAF. They're on their way there, which is pretty interesting. And then looking at some notes here.
That's right.
So we're continuing to take out military targets. We're targeting their Navy. I think you have some video of that. I sent you some interesting video of that.
Oh, Baba. We don't know.
Let me try that again. My apologies, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, Baba. We don't know. Yo, Khuda.
And I think you have another video too.
Yes, I do.
So that is U.S. Air Force taking out their boats. Yeah. We took down 46 ships so far, are sunk to the bottom of the sea. Yeah. And their Navy is decimated. Now, before you show this next clip, you know, there was a big to-do about their drone carrier ship. And this next video is of us taking out their drone carrier ship, which is at the bottom of the sea now. You want to show that?
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, some good stuff there.
Yeah, it is. Wow.
Yeah, so we got 46 ships as of this morning. 46 ships at the bottom of the sea, including their famous drone carrier ship. Now, the Iranians, they make excellent drones. Their Shahed drone are probably the best out there, right? Wow. Now, don't forget, with the Ukrainian conflict, Russia is using 100% of the Shahed drones. Okay, that's Iran is supplying 100% of their drones to Russia to use on Ukraine. Yeah. And we'll get into that a little bit. But what we did, the U.S. military, is we got one of these, we reverse engineered it, we made it a little bit better. It's got Starlink stuff on it now, and that's how we're using. So when you look at our drones, and I think we talked about this on the last podcast, It's actually a mock-up of the Shahed drone. It's just got, like I said, Starlink stuff, internet on it, or GPS on it. It's got some other stuff on it, but that's how good they make them.
Wow.
And so now, if you guys saw, Trump appealed to Zelensky and said, "Hey, can you send some of your anti-drone warfare over to Bahrain and the Middle East? Some of these countries are getting hit, and they're actually en route there now."
Oh, wow.
So anyway, so we got their drone carrier at the bottom of the thing, and then what we got is, we got a third aircraft carrier going over there.
Yeah.
So, like I told you guys on the last podcast, the George Bush. GW George Bush was in Computex training right now, and I told you guys on the last podcast that once they're done training, that they were going to get dispatched over there. So we are now sending a third aircraft carrier strike group to the Middle East, and they're on their way. Now, where does that leave the Bahamas, the Caribbean, where we still have some forces there that have been rerouted from Venezuela? They're up by Cuba now. So what I told you guys last time is the Nimitz was being decommissioned. They actually took it it was on its way to Virginia to get decommissioned. As of today, it just came out that now they're rerouting the Nimitz, which is the oldest aircraft carrier we have in the group. Yeah. It is now headed to the Caribbean. So the Nimitz will be headed to the Caribbean with their fighter wing and their escorts, and that will be headed over there. So it's going to be some interesting stuff, a lot of movement around. Yeah. Along with the Nimitz, I think there is 2 or 3 other decommissioned aircraft carriers. So I don't know what they're going to, I think they're just going to leave those decommissioned, but they're over there in Virginia, getting ready to go, get scrapped wherever they go. The number one place they take them to is somewhere down in Texas, where they do scrapping of those old ships and stuff like that. Yeah. Now, some of the infrastructure that we're hitting over there and what we're targeting drone plants. And if you got that up there.
Oh yeah, you need that video? Here we go.
Yep. So we took out that drone plant.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. And those are the Shahed drones that we're taking out.
Yeah, so now you weren't lying when you said those are sophisticated. Those definitely have the look and the feel.
Right. So now we've taken out, a lot of their missiles, the long range missiles, a lot of their rocket launchers, a lot of stuff like that. So now we're going for their infrastructure to reconstitute these things. So we're targeting their drone plants, which I was wrong with, targeting their metal plants, aluminum plants, their aircraft manufacturing plants we're taking out. We're targeting their airports and all of their heavy lift planes. We're targeting their, I forget what airport it was, but we took out 6 of those guys. So we're targeting a lot,
Yeah, I want to play that previous video again.
Yeah. Also, the strikes that you're seeing inside, the targeting that you're seeing inside Tehran, Meshtad, a lot of these, the bigger cities are, the IRGC command centers, the police headquarters, the besieged headquarters. And the besieged are like the military police, right? They're going to go around and hit you with the cane and tell the woman, hey, get your burqa on and your headscarf and your hijab and all that stuff, So we're targeting a lot of the authority. So what we're trying to do is get the people to rise up, right? So get the people to rise up. And it's working, Don't fall their propaganda that they're doing. Oh, we'll fight you for another 10 years and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
That's not right, Right. I think that so it's going to be interesting. Another thing that we're hitting is that we're not hitting, but Israel's hitting is their oil and their energy facilities. So on Monday, we hit a lot of their oil refineries and stuff like that, and that caught Trump off guard, because what Trump was saying is what you're seeing now is the White House and Trump is telling Netanyahu and Israel, hey man, don't hit those. Listen, we want the people, right? We want the people of Iran to keep their riches and their wealth of their country, right? Because that like Saudi Arabia is what gives the wealth to that country is those oil things. So he told them to knock it off, and he asked them again today, hey, don't hit their stuff. If you want to hit their oil depots that are meant for their ships and stuff like that, okay, but everything else, leave alone. We don't want to decimate. We want the people of Iran to have their riches. And that's what Trump's doing. He's trying to help the people, not, the theocracy there,
Yeah.
So there's that, and then we know that there's a new leader of Iran.
Yeah.
And I think you got that picture there. That is Khomeini's son. Now,
okay,
a lot of people were saying, now this is where I think Trump is wrong. Okay. And, Trump was saying, hey, I don't think he fully understands the Muslim religion. I don't think he's really being told about it.
Okay.
And so in the Shiite religion, what happens is when you're the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, you have to be a direct descendant, right? You have to be a direct descendant of that prophet, Okay. So it only makes sense that it was going to be Khomeini's son,
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be anybody else. It wasn't going to be some dude here, some dude there. So when it comes to the Shiite religion, and a good book for those of you that really want to understand the Muslim religion, and this is the most, I actually have it. I'm at work right now, so obviously I don't have it with me, but a good book that I read is by Glenn Beck, and it's called It Is About Islam. And I'd encourage you guys, if you guys want to know more about the Shiite religion, Sunni religion, Sufi Muslims, Wahhabism, all those different sects of the Muslim religion, to get that book and you'll understand a little bit why they are the way they are and why they do the way they are. If you want to know why Shiites are fighting over, the Dome of the Rock versus the Saudis over there in Mecca, Medina, that's a good book for you to read and to understand. It really will enlighten you, and you'll get a fresh perspective on why they are the way they are, why they follow the prophets that they do. But anyways, so that's the new leader of Iran, and Trump is out there right now saying, hey, I don't know if I like this guy, which is kind of to me like, man, you just don't know about the theocracy of the Shiite religion,
I think I found the link to the book on Amazon. So
yeah,
there it is.
It's a really, really great book. And I would invite you guys to read it so you're educated, right? I know there's some guy out there right now who's watching this saying, why do I want to read it? Well, because you know what you're talking about when you're talking about this. When you're talking about the Muslim religion, you actually sound intelligent and smart and know what you're saying, so you don't sound kind of like a wackadoodle. You don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
It'd be like a Muslim guy talking about the Christian religion,
And just a reminder, we're not sponsored nor endorsed, so we're just sharing.
Yeah, it's all about it's about knowing. It's like when I wanted to learn about why do all these college kids have these posters of Che Guevara? Why this? Well, what did I do? I bought every book on Che Guevara, and I read about him and read what happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 60s with Fidel and Che and all them. And people don't understand that they were actually, those old movie films and pictures of U.S. soldiers going through Italy during World War II, and all those people lining the streets, cheering them on. It was the same thing in Havana, Cuba, with Che Fidel. They were heroes, They got rid of an oppressive regime, which was the Batista regime that fled to Miami. And that's why you have the biggest Cuban expats in Miami, Florida, or in Florida. And that's why. So when you read these things, when you read books and you educate yourself, you sound educated. You know what you're talking about.
Yes.
But anyway, back to the subject. So this is why they did this. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of rumors that they're trying to do backdoor channels to Trump, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
We also know that Russia and China are helping Iran with their satellite. We know that Russia and China are actively using their satellites to help target U.S. infrastructure. And you saw a little bit of that come out through different links and stuff like that. And if you saw the 60-minute interview with Pete Hegseth and Major Garrett, which just aired on Sunday, and I invite you guys to go reach it, Pete Hegseth actually addressed that and said, hey, we know exactly who's giving Iran intel, and we know exactly what they're talking about. We have the best intelligence in the world, on and on and on and on. So they know what's going on. So how do we address that? How are we going to maybe sanction China or Russia or do something? We'll see, you know. Personally, I think we just say, okay, Russia, if you want to keep doing that, Ukraine, maybe you do need to go in NATO. Let's see what happens, you know. We have
let's go over really quick. You know, who has Iran targeted with missiles and drones? So I want to bring up this
definitely,
right
so you got that graphic there. So we know that Iran is targeting their neighbors. They've targeted UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan, Cyprus, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and of course Israel. And they're targeting our bases in those countries.
Yeah.
And so Saudi Arabia, a couple of oil infrastructures got hit. We know that in Bahrain, they hit our headquarters for the Fifth Fleet. I actually happen to have a guy that was Navy. He spent a year over there, deployed over there. He was on anything American flag going through the Hormuz Strait, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, he talked, this was during the Obama years, you know. So that was the headquarters of the Fifth Fleet there in Bahrain. You actually know the Dutch are there, the British are there, Italians are there. And actually, everybody's seen where Maloney of Italy came out and said, hey, our troops are being targeted on these different bases. We had Brent come out and say, hey, Cyprus is being targeted. Our troops are being targeted there. So we know that France and their aircraft carrier strike group there. So, you know, they're all going to use them for defensive purposes.
Yeah.
We saw that at first the British, which nobody should be surprised because they're not our friends, they're not our allies, say that, hey, you cannot use Diego Garcia, you cannot use Cyprus, only to turn that around and say, okay, you can. Spain, who has a leftist socialist government right now, which should be a surprise to nobody, because remember, during World War II, Spain was allied with Germany, even though they said they weren't. They said we couldn't use their bases, and then Trump said, hey, okay, we're going to tear up everything over there. So now Spain reversed that. So now we're launching from Spain. So they're targeting our allies, you know, and of course, we'll see what happens. Saudi Arabia came out forcefully, and Qatar says, hey, we have the right to respond. So we'll see what happens. I know that in the Middle East, they have I'm not sure what the name is, but it's a defense pact between these countries here, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi Arabia. They have a Mideast defense pact, and they said, hey, basically, we're going to go after you guys, you know. So let's see what happens.
So
this
is
those
fairly
are the
much everywhere
missiles,
they're attacking.
Those are the number of missiles as of yesterday that have hit those countries. Of course, Israel is a thing. Yeah. Now, the good thing is that, you know, they were launching 100 a day. Now I think they're down to like 9 or 6 a day or something like that. So let's see what happens. We're targeting a lot of their stuff. Also, we know that as of today, our special forces have landed in the Iraqi desert.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of the Shiite militias in Iraq are reporting this, that American special forces have landed in Anbar, Kerbala, Najaf, and I think this is all near the border with Iran, and I think this is to help the Kurds get through the border.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to see some action. I think that the Kurds are going to go in there, and they're going to probably take some land, probably start fighting, and do some stuff. So I think that's what that's headed towards. We'll have to see. Yeah. You know, we'll have to see. It's going to be pretty interesting because I guarantee that Israeli special forces are there. They're now talking about sending in American special forces and Israeli special forces to take control of the nuclear sites and take that stockpile. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'd rather see the Israeli special forces do it, you know, with American air support, not our troops. I'm not for our troops in there. Right. I don't think that anybody voted for Trump wants our troops in there.
Correct.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I will not be surprised if the new leader of Iran gets killed and more of their targeting. But that's amazing by itself. The Ayatollah Khomeini with 41 different leaders get knocked out in the first round. That in itself is amazing.
Yeah.
And there's lots of rumors of how that happened. If you guys remember, when the Israeli war started with Hezbollah and Hamas, if you guys remember, how did they get in Nasrallah? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Nanotechnology.
Oh, wow.
So Google this. Yeah, Google this and look this up. It came out at that time that it was reported that they had some nanotechnology and they went and they had somebody shake Nasrallah's hand and that nanotechnology got into him. It was pretty crazy. And it was out there at the time. I think I still have that clip somewhere. So I'm thinking that's how they got Khomeini, because they don't know, they lured him out. He was out kind of in the open. He wasn't in his bunker yet, but they knew exactly where he was. And I think that, with Trump saying, hey, we got tech that no one else has seen. And they just released, DARPA just released the new plane that they will be producing for the Army, which is pretty cool. And you guys can Google that and see the new technology out there, along with that B-2 stealth raider out there. So there's a lot of new planes that DARPA's making, and they just published a couple photos of one of them just yesterday. So the new technology that's out there, the stuff that's being put out there, you could go to Kim Jong-un and shake his hand and have that nanotechnology in him, and it could be there for who knows how many years. And if something ever happened, we know exactly where he is at all times. The tech that's coming out is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. Wow.
So anyway, so we got special forces landing, and hopefully it won't be ours involved. And if they do take these sites, I know a lot of these sites are being buried right now. A lot of missile launchers.
Yeah.
And then today, obviously, the big news is U.S. Intel was saying that they were seeing signs of Iran. They were going to lay naval mines. I think you got a graphic on that.
Yeah, here it is.
Lay naval mines and shipping lanes. And Trump put out a tweet a couple hours after that. And I think you have that first tweet.
Where the first one here. This is on Truth Social.
Yeah, that's the second one. The first tweet was, hey, basically, we're going to bomb all your mine.
Yeah, if Iran has put out any mines in the Hormuz Strait, we will have no reports of them doing so. We want them removed immediately. If for any reason mines were placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. If, on the other hand, they remove what may have been placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. Additionally, we are using the same technology and missile capabilities deployed against drug traffickers to permanently eliminate any boat or ship attempting to mine the Hormuz Strait. They will be dealt with quickly and violently. Beware.
And it was quickly, because a couple hours after that, you have this second tweet that he put out.
So this came out
not
on,
even a couple hours
X.
later. The next tweet, they went and they took those ships out. So I think there was a total of 14 now. They just went and took them, all those ships out, all the mine lane boats and our ships, with more to follow. So I think it's a total of 14 now that they took out. So he didn't waste no time. And, he doesn't mess around, it's done,
Right. Yeah.
So, their Navy is pretty much done. Their rocket launchers are pretty much done.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens. We have, what's left is the nuclear sites. You got 3 big ones. You still have some ballistic missile launchers in and around Tehran and kind of Meshdad, the second largest city. Some other cities near the south. You have probably some not hypersonics, but probably some other missiles on the coast there.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of talk out there of troops sending in, Trump sending in troops and not sending in troops, yada, yada, yada. You got Tom Cotton today in Congress saying he's not going to do it. You got other people say he is going to do it. I think he just likes to keep people on their toes, you know.
Okay.
He doesn't like to divulge either way if he is or not. Hey,
Right.
what am I going to do, you know? That's the thing about Trump. He's very unpredictable. That's why, if you remember in 2016 when this first term, everybody was scared because they're like, he's so unpredictable. We don't know. Let's take the safe route, you know. And that's in everything. Look at the tariffs. You know, as soon as the Supreme Court decided against him the tariffs, what do you say? 10% all across the world. You know, and then you had all these countries saying, you know what, we like this deal. What do the Japanese head of Toyota say? Mr. Trump, that means you can actually charge us more. No, we'll keep our deal and you keep the money, you know, because he's very unpredictable worldwide. And that's what you want. You want unpredictability. You don't want people to read you, to know you, what your next move is going to do. And that's exactly what Russia and China are trying to do with their satellites and stuff like this. And I'll never forget.
I know some friends are upset about the tariffs, and you know, I've actually been impacted with some of the tariffs as well. I'm order things from as close as Canada, and I got affected by some tariffs as well. And actually extra long shipping time as well. That was terrible. Now the gas prices are just since this war in Iran has started, the gas prices have jumped. I noticed a 40-cent incline, nearly immediate.
They're going to go down. They were already going down.
True.
And I watched a lot of CNBC and a lot of Squawk Box, a lot of Fox Business, and they were saying, hey, they might go up a little, but it's nothing like it was 10 years ago where they go really up. Do you know why? Because we produce a lot of gas and oil. We refine a lot.
Funny thing is California is blaming most of their problems on this war, but California already has problems. So, the California problem as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the governor there. Yeah, look at the governor there. Look at my governor. The gas tax. I think we have the highest gas tax. Washington State has the highest gas tax. It's really, it's just,
I think California is at 61% tax per gallon. I don't know what Washington is.
I don't know the numbers. I know that last time I checked, we have the highest gas tax, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
so
the unpredictability,
not the war itself, but I mean the war, obviously did some, but it's not necessarily the whole truth behind some of the places, such as California and Washington State. So, folks, watch your local government. They'll feed you propaganda that's not necessarily true.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see what goes on. I think that Trump said about 2 more weeks. I think Israel said about 2 more weeks and they're done. They're totally decimated. It's up to the people of Iran to rise up, and take their nation back, and to say no. You have the Iranian women's soccer team that just 4 or 7 of them defected today in Australia. And they actually had a video of them going down the stairs, running out of the hotel and all stuff. So they couldn't get the whole team, but they got I think it was 4 or 7 of them. And because they didn't sing the Iranian national anthem at the soccer game, they were just stone quiet. And it was like people were cheering, and it's funny. I gotta laugh my ass off when I see these white liberal, and it's always the white liberal boomers, white liberal old people getting paid to protest. And you look in New York, you look in Southern California, where I'm from, in Orange County, you look everywhere, and you see these Iranian people, these Persian people, here they call them Persian people come up and say, hey, you, Mr. White Cracker ass, you don't know what you're talking about, you know what I mean? Just going off on these people. You see them saying all kinds of stuff, you don't know what you're talking about. And I actually saw a guy tell this guy, hey, you're a white cracker. It was on Twitter, and I was just cracking up, but they don't know what they're talking about. It's like, hey, all these people, the free Palestinian, the trans, all these people, the pro LGBT for Hamas, all these people, go live over there. Go live over there. Go see how it is. Wow. Go over there.
Give it a try, and you will find out different.
If it's so great over there, go over there. You're not going to be laughing when you get thrown off the building. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These people, I'm telling you, these people have no mental capacity. If you're a person of faith, what does the Bible always talk about? there's a spirit of delusion going around. You know, these people are just they're not all there. They're not all there, man. You know, like
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, you know, it came out earlier this week, you know, and there wasn't a lot of detail, but it came out earlier this week that there were some intercepted encrypted transmissions that seem to come out of Iran. It could be something for sleeper cells. It could be this, could be that. There was no real big detail. You know, there's some debate on was it that? Was it for something else? Was it some kind of message from separatist groups in Iran? You know, there's just a lot of speculation going around that, but that did come out. So you had DHS. You had DHS come out and put out a warning saying, hey, you know, law enforcement, be on the lookout, be extra vigilant. Look what's going on. A couple of days ago, what do we have? We have those 2 kids from New York.
Yeah.
Throw those IEDs into the crowd. I saw one video where this kid lit whatever he was going to throw. He goes on a fence, and you see this NYPD, I think he was a lieutenant or something, chase after him and grab him, you know. So luckily, nobody got hurt.
Yeah. Wow.
We got those 2 guys that pledged allegiance to ISIS and all this other crazy stuff. I think today I saw broke. They raided some storage units. They found more bombs and IEDs. So this has been planned for a while.
So we've talked about in past shows, you know, the sim farms. You know, found, what was it, the New England area, the Chinese.
That's New York, yeah.
So saying New England area just to give a broad spectrum coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no telling what's in Pennsylvania.
Well,
but I mean,
that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, you look at these kids' house, and you look at the house they raided in Pennsylvania. That wasn't a house. That was a freaking mansion. You know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm from a town where there's a shooting that you wouldn't expect it, and that was in 2019 with Colby Collette, you know, shown the day before. Yeah, and the day after there was a shooting, and the guy actually, you know, obtained munitions from a different state because they were not allowed in the state of California, and that was over at the Garlic Festival in Gilroy, California.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was quite an interesting situation for our little town to go through of less than 40,000, I believe, is the population there. So, you know, this kind of, you know, goes into the next point of conversation is, you know, what can we do to be better prepared? So,
right. So, you know, this teases off pretty good. So basically, what I did was I got onto a lot of the Telegram and Signal chats and a lot of the social media.
Yeah.
And just told a lot of the groups out there, told my people in my state, told a lot of people situational awareness. Now, look, guys, I know that the targets are always New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco.
Yeah, the largest cities.
Miami.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't put it past them to go for soft targets in the middle of America. So situational awareness, right? So, hey, when you're at a movie theater, know your exits. When you're at the mall, know your exits. When you're at, soccer season starting at a soccer game, know where you're at.
Yeah.
When you're at a hockey game, when you're at a basketball game, at a sporting event, you're going to go watch the Lakers play, the Celtics play, the Miami Heat play. You're going to go Indiana Pacer game, wherever. Know that these are soft targets. We got, what better way to strike fear in America than go for soft targets in the middle of America, in Punkadunk, Iowa, or in someplace in Missouri or Kansas,
Yeah.
Because they're all about the mind game, right? So if they could get you there, they could get you anywhere, right?
Right.
So, because the big cities are going to be alert. Look, NYPD has the best, out of law enforcement, they have the best intel services out there,
Yes.
Hands down, number one in the country as far as law enforcement, police, right?
Yeah.
But Seattle's going to be on guard. LA is going to be on guard. New York, Miami, all the big cities are going to be on guard, but the little cities aren't. So if you go take a suicide vest and go to a school in Missouri or go to a school in Kansas or Cody, Wyoming, or Billings, Montana, what does that tell you? Hey, we can get you anywhere. So what I'm telling everybody, and on this podcast, is to be situational aware wherever you go, wherever you're at.
Yeah.
Number 2, have a comms plan. And yes, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to beat it dead down to the door. Have a comms plan. Okay. Listen, guys, I never go anywhere without my radio. My wife doesn't go anywhere without her radio. I have a base station on my house. All my guys are buying towers. About 5 years ago, we all got towers, like literal 80-foot towers that came from fire stations. You can buy them off Craigslist, $300. You can barter them down. Be on comms. Have a comms plan. 2, have a family comms plan. My wife knows we all meet at the house. If something happens, nobody moves till we go there, right? In any kind of situation, natural disaster, whatever.
Right.
And then have a comms plan with your group. Hey, man, if you have a state group like me, then you have a plan for all your state leaders and zone leaders to check in. If you have a county group, if you're a Lightfoot, militia, whatever, prepper group, whatever, health freedom group, whatever, have a plan for everybody to check in,
Yeah.
If you have just a neighborhood plan, if you're in a cul-de-sac like me, there's only 7 houses.
Yeah.
Have a neighborhood plan. Hey, everybody's check on everybody. You okay? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I actually have 4 RNs that live on my street. So,
Wow.
I'm
Nice.
lucky in that. Yeah. So
make sure everything is charged up too, because it was last year. It was April 30th to be more exact. I was nearly 4 days without electricity. There's a tornado touchdown about 20 miles northeast of me here in the suburbs of Missouri, and I had no power. So what do you do when there's no power? Make sure everything's charged up. I ran a complete show on April 30th of last year. And I had just enough juice to make that happen. And like 10 minutes before the show ended, the power came back on. I'm like, yes, my refrigerator's back on, because the little bit of meat that I had left in there that I wasn't able to cook up was definitely getting on the lighter side of being thawed.
Yeah, so have a comms plan, so that if something, and I'm speaking about something like this, a terrorist act, if something like this happens in your city or in your county, have something there. Israel's bombing Iran.
Have different ways. What I'm saying is, have different ways to charge things up. Because I mean, we can't be like dependent on internet. So you're talking about like a Telegram chat channels.
I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
But in a terrorist act, have a comms plan, so that you guys can reach each other. And like I said before, we run and I'm going to plug Amron here. So we have a net every Friday. It's a national net. We have groups all the way from Maine all the way to the West Coast. It's a national net we do every Friday. We use all the tools in the tool bag, meaning, it's not just ham HF voice. It's not just GMRS. It's not just DMR. We do JSA call at 6:30 Pacific. Then we roll over to 7 o'clock and we do HF voice, ham radio. Then we roll over in all the groups. I encourage them to do GMRS in their local area, and then DMR at 8 o'clock. And we're going to roll over we're going to add a 5th one. It's either going to be FL Digi or some kind of mesh chassis or mesh core, one of the two. And we're going to do that. But it's a good way. So if something happens in Florida, I can reach out to Magnum. Hey, what's going on in Miami? Hey, Matt Pearson, what's going on in Virginia? Hey, Story, what's going on in Oklahoma? Hey, Craftsman, what's going on in New Hampshire? Hey, Coop, what's going on in Tennessee? Hey, JB Action, what's going on in Colorado? Hey, Spitfire, what's going on in NorCal, California? Or hey, Will and the guys in Missouri, what's going on in St. Louis? So there's people all around the country. So we can get a quick sit rep of what's going on and this and this. Now, the second part of this is what you were talking about. So listen, like I told you guys before, if you've been watching these podcasts and you've been watching the intel out there, there are many reasons why we went into Venezuela and Iran. But the common denominator is China. China gets most of its oil from 2 places, Venezuela and Iran. And now we just took both of them, right? Yeah. So now we're looking at how is China going to react? What are they going to do? Now, we don't really have to worry about the hacking. as far as Iran goes, because Iran, what they're famous for ransomware. That's their thing. That's what they're known for. Ransomware. They'll lock up your computer and they'll do ransomware. That's all they do. Why do they do that? Because that's how they pay Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, all the different groups, Muslim Brotherhood, all the different groups. That's how they give them money, is by the ransomware. That's what they're known for. You can look that up. That's open source. Facts, straight facts. China, what they want to do is, if we piss them off and corner them in the box, they own our grid. There's no denying it. That's facts right there. Yeah. They own our grid. They own 80% of the ports, or 80% of the cranes at 80% of the ports. They own Miami-Dade Port. They own Seattle. They own San Francisco. They own Long Beach. They own New York, and they own Virginia ports. They own 388,000 acres of farmland. They have who knows how many people in this country that came in. The only hard number that we knew was 30,000 came through the San Diego border in May of 2024. That's the only number we have. Now Biden was in office for 3.5 years. Who knows how many people came in? Let's just say 10,000 every month for 3.5 years. So they can inflict. They are our number one concern, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, sure. Okay, we have Iranian sleeper cells. We've had them for how many years? We've also had Russian sleeper cells. We've had them for how many years?
Oh yeah, Chinese sleeper cells. But
they don't own. They don't own. Listen, Iran doesn't own 388,000 acres of farmland.
Right.
Iran doesn't have secret police stations. Iran doesn't have 2 biolabs that we just found with infected HIV, SARS, all kinds of stuff. They don't own ports. They don't own the crane out of ports. They don't. China's doing all this, so they're our number one thing. So if we piss off China enough, right? Yeah, they're going to take action. So what is that going to look like? Is our grid going to
wreak havoc? Yeah,
right. Is our grid going to go down? Then therefore, that's what you're saying. Have everything charged up, solar generators, batteries, stuff like that. Be prepared. Yes. Have stuff there. Be on comms, because you're not going to have no cell phone.
Right.
We've seen the Verizons go down. We've seen T-Mobile go down. We've seen a lot of things go down.
Yeah.
So.
The fiber optic internet goes down, and a lot of different things go down. It just takes a line cut for fiber optic to go down.
Funny thing is, in I think it was Bahrain or UAE, you saw that they took out that Amazon farm. So they took out that Amazon server farm, and service was down in the Middle East, kind of in that area for Amazon for, I don't even know if they got it back up yet. They might have, but this was a few days ago.
Wow.
So we'll have to see what happens. But, there's a lot of things that come into play with what we're doing. It's not just about, it's about long range missiles and stuff like that, but it could be about more,
But I mean, more than just, what we talked about, comms and power, electricity, learn how to filter water. That is very vital, because we cannot live without water. Isn't that right, John?
That is correct.
I mean, you can, do the simple filter with, like a cotton or, even, a wad of t-shirt and activated charcoal on the top of it through like a 2-liter bottle. That's a simple filter.
Well,
learn how to distill water or boil water for 10 minutes to, kill everything in it. It might not be the best tasting, but it does kill everything.
And people don't understand, if you're on city water, like you live in my neighborhood and you're on city water, well, there's a pump house at the end of my cul-de-sac, and that pump house gives all the houses in my cul-de-sac in the street over all the water. Well, power goes out, you ain't getting any water now because you're on city water. That's why you need to be on a well,
Yeah.
So,
something I learned in the 1989 earthquake, Loma Prieta, was it was right after the earthquake happened. We plugged up our bathtub and filled up that whole tub with water, because that was everything. That was our to wash our face with washcloth, so your drinking water. That was your everything water that came out of that bathtub. And before the rest of that water became contaminated with settlement that came through from the water tower that was actually up on a hill, but that sat right on top of the San Andreas fault line. So you definitely fill up fill up a large container such as a bathtub of water, and if you have like some empty gallon bottles or 5-gallon jugs, fill those up with water as well. It might be a few days to a couple of weeks. There's no telling, in the fog of things.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at some stuff that's dropping right now, and it's just like we're blowing up more boats,
Oh, wow.
and CENTCOM's putting out some stuff right now on Twitter, social media.
Oh, wow.
You're just, it's just, we're annihilating them, so we just need to be prepared. They're going to lash out.
Yeah.
So listen, they're going to lash out. It's just, how are they going to lash out?
Right.
And how's Russia going to lash out? Because don't forget Russia too. Okay, look.
Yeah.
Like I've said before, this whole Ukrainian thing, the new axis, it's Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, right?
Yeah.
And so now we are taking out their infrastructure. We're taking out their drone making factories. We're taking out all their stuff. So now how's Russia going to get their drones to fight against Ukraine? Again, it's when you look at what Trump does, when you look at what he does, you need to step back and look, okay, like Venezuela, why is he doing this? Well, okay, so you're knocking their nuclear ambitions out. You're taking away their ballistic missiles. You're taking away their navy, their boats. You're taking away their funding for Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, all these guys. But you're also screwing China because now they got no oil. And if they have no oil, they can't move ships, planes, and boats to invade Taiwan. If they can't invade Taiwan, that means theoretically they won't do nothing to us, because the whole purpose of them owning our grid and doing all the stuff they want to do against us, and this is what FBI says, NSA, CISA, and military intelligence, that they will act upon all this so that we can't respond to Taiwan. So now they can't do that because they can't invade Taiwan. And then Russia, well, now you're forcing Russia to settle with Ukraine, because now they don't have the drones that Iran would be sending them by the thousands, because now we're knocking out all their plants. So it's a multi-layered, multi-reason why he goes into these countries and does what he does.
Yeah.
People just need to step back, think, and look, okay, well, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. So he does it for many reasons,
Yeah.
And, he likes to keep them off guard. But yeah, so you got to look how Russia's going to react too now. What is Russia going to do? You know, Medvedev is over there on Twitter, like challenging Trump to a UFC fight and all this stuff. And he goes ballistic, and he's just like, he just runs his mouth all day long, But, so now you've handicapped Russia a little bit. You've handicapped China. You've definitely taken a lot of Iran out. So, how does that new axis really look now?
Right. Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But, the point I want to make in ending this podcast is everybody has to be, one, situational aware wherever you go, and two, ready in case something happens.
Yes.
And the most effective thing right now is comms,
Yeah.
And it's the comms, and what I tell a lot of leaders when they want to network with other groups, there's groups in Montana that reach out to me like, hey, how can I work with this Lightfoot unit or this group and this group and that group and that group? Comms.
Yeah.
Comms. Or when I talk to groups in Tennessee, because there's so many groups in Tennessee, and they all, whatever, I don't know, for some reason, everybody seems to fight with each other. Comms. You know why? Because it's the most minimal thing you can do with the most minimal effort, but with the greatest impact.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
With the greatest impact. So right after January 6th, when everybody was afraid to work with everybody, everybody's paranoid at each other, this guy's this guy's this, they're label lynching, fed this, fed that, and nobody wanted to work together, comms. Yeah. Why? It's the most minimal thing you can do with the greatest impact. Yes. Right?
Absolutely.
So if something happens here in Spokane, Washington, and the guys from Idaho call over from Coeur d'Alene or Kootenai County or wherever they call over, hey, how's it going? I could give them a quick sit rep. If something happens in Redmond, Oregon, or Portland, I could call down there talk to Oregon State Militia, Oregon 3, whoever, any groups down there, and be like, hey, what's the SIREP? What's it like down there? I got people down there by you across the bridge of Vancouver. You know,
you're connecting nationwide on a radio, nationwide.
Yeah. The most minimal thing with the impact.
And that's not a cell phone. That's a walkie-talkie.
and what I like to say, and I know I'm going to offend people, but if you can't do a 5-minute, 10-minute check-in, then I'm really questioning you in your seriousness about being in any group. It's literally, I got you 5 by 5. Hey, I got you 1 by 2. Hey, you're coming in good. I got you. Hey, this is WRCP 983. I got you. You know, like it is just, if you can't do that, I don't know. I got no words for you. I really can't, you know, I really.
No, I'm teaching the kid across the street. I gave the kid across the street my little FRS radio, and I, key in with the my ham radio because I can, tune into those channels. And, the thing doesn't get, much more than a half-mile range on the FRS. But that's, to give a perspective. It says 6-mile range, but no, that's not true with all the power lines and things rolling hills because they're, line of sight with the FRS. And they don't connect to repeaters. So, that's the advantage of GMRS and ham radios. They connect to the repeaters to where, the FRS and the CB citizen band radios don't connect to the repeaters.
Yeah, and it's just like, for somebody like me that's originally from Southern California and my family's all down there, I could call down to Ruel and Spitfire and those guys down there and be like, hey, man, can you guys check in on my family? Can you guys do this? Can you guys do that? You know what I mean? And, I mean, there's so many wins, advantages to being on comms, It's it's like, it's pretty good. And then, so we do have JJ, the founder of Amron, on there. He's helping us. He's helping us out. We got some great guys on there. We got a guy named Ron out of Yakima, who's a great teacher on JS8. We got Skip in Montana, who's great with HF and Hamlet. These guys, a lot of these guys are Amron guys. So Amron does carry a lot of the. They have an infrastructure that can help, and JJ, he did this in the military. He did this in special forces. He did this in wartime, So Amron's a proven thing. So I like to.
So I put the website into the chat there. So it's already there.
Bit, so you guys can go to amron.com or .org, whatever. But yeah, it's if anybody's interested on getting the nationwide net, you guys can hit me up on Telegram or get a hold of me through Tim, and we get you on there. It's really quick. I have a bunch of people message me today. I got some New Jersey guys, some more New York guys, some Delaware guys. But yeah, it's getting some guys from Sons of Liberty and stuff like that. So listen, man, it's all about connectivity, everybody connecting, and just knowing that you have that resource, I can reach down to Georgia, and there's many different groups involved. You got Jeffrey Prather's Team America. A lot of us from Team America are on there nationwide. You got Mike Glover's Contingency America. A lot of guys from Contingency America. You got Health Freedom Washington, Health Freedom Idaho. You got flag waving groups, prepper groups, all kinds of groups on there. There's just all kinds of different people from different walks of life that just really want to be in contact if something happens, and that's what it's about,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up. Wow, it's been almost a year since we launched Patriots III, Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness. And my very first guest was John Valle. So, definitely appreciate you, John. You have some really wonderful information. I'm hearing, that they really appreciate you being on and sharing your wealth of knowledge. So definitely glad to have you on board.
Yeah, we'll get into the next one. I'll get into the elections coming up, and it looks like they're not going to pass the SAVE Act because John Thune's a spineless coward. But I'll talk about the elections and what I predict, and I could be wrong, but I'm predicting Trump will probably do an executive order. They raided and they got Arizona election results. So I think what he's doing, he's building a case to say, hey, Georgia, and we went into one of the podcasts, Georgia, Arizona. Therefore, I am doing an executive order. No machines, paper ballots only. So I think that's coming down the pike. So we'll get into the election stuff next time. We'll get into some other stuff. and it'll be fun. It'll be great.
Sounds good. So yeah, definitely, watch out for the news and views with John Valle here on Patriots 3, Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness. Seen on Tim Holliday TV on Rumble, YouTube, Twitch TV, Facebook, and also heard on iHeart, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
And I saw it on Instagram.
Oh yes, yeah. So yeah, it's all
Everything.
Instagram. Yeah. No, it's not on Instagram. I don't go live on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw the video on. I saw a video on Instagram. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm putting up some reels up on Instagram as of recent. So yeah, it's just to do a little bit more traction, I suppose. But anyways, yeah, definitely. I'm on all platforms at Tim Holliday TV. So that's TimHolliday TV. You can find me everywhere except for X, because X, well, I broke the rules, which I didn't. Wrote a number of appeals, and well, you know what? Yeah, yesterday I went ahead and I just deactivated all of X, got rid of the app. I'm done with X. Yeah, I swear the previous owner before Elon Musk still has his hand in that pot. But anyways, that's just my take on it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, thank you for watching.
Have a great night.
Have a great night.